I didn't have a cell phone until I was in my 30s.
Rhea Perlman, the beloved actress who captured America's heart as the witty and sharp-tongued Carla Tortelli on Cheers, has always been admired for her humor, resilience, and charm. But behind the laughter, her journey has been filled with challenges, heartbreak, and a recent revelation that has left fans stunned. At 76, Perlman is finally opening up about the deeply personal struggles she has carried quietly for years, and the truth is both inspiring and heartbreaking. In this video, we'll explore Rhea Perlman's early rise to fame, her turbulent relationship with Danny DeVito, the battles she faced in her personal and professional life, and the devastating news that has shaken her world today. Stay with us, because what you're about to learn about this Hollywood icon may change the way you see her forever. Rhea Perlman's story begins not on the glamorous stages of Hollywood, but in the working-class neighborhoods of Brooklyn, New York. Born on March 31, 1948, she grew up in a modest home where humor and grit were survival tools as much as they were entertainment. From an early age, Perlman had a spark, a sharp wit, and a fearless personality that set her apart. Her parents nurtured her independence, instilling in her the idea that she could carve out her own path in life, even if it meant stepping outside of the conventional roles women were expected to play in the 1950s. Unlike many of her peers who dreamed of traditional success, Perlman had her eyes set on the stage. She wasn't the Hollywood leading lady type. She was short, quirky, and undeniably real. Yet those very qualities became her greatest strengths. After studying drama at Hunter College, she began pursuing acting roles in the early 1970s. At first, the path wasn't easy. Casting directors often dismissed her, insisting she wasn't glamorous enough for the roles being offered. But Perlman didn't back down. She leaned into her unique persona, showing producers and audiences alike that charisma and timing could outshine superficial looks any day. Her breakthrough came when she joined the cast of the off-Broadway play, Dracula Sabbat. But it was in 1979, when she landed the role of Zena Sherman on Taxi, that she first began to gain widespread recognition. The part was small, but it gave her valuable screen experience and, more importantly, a chance to cross paths with Danny DeVito, who was starring as Louis De Palma on the show. Their on-screen chemistry mirrored the sparks flying off-screen, and soon, the two became inseparable. This was the beginning of a relationship that would define so much of her life and career, both its brightest highs and its darkest lows. But Rhea's biggest moment came in 1982, when she was cast as Carla Tortelli in Cheers. At a time when female characters in sitcoms were often reduced to stereotypes, Carla was something entirely new. She was unapologetically tough, hilariously sarcastic, and deeply human. Rhea infused the character with her own sharp humor, making Carla not just a sidekick, but a fan favorite. Audiences adored her brutal honesty and quick wit, and soon she became one of the show's most iconic figures. Over the course of Cheers' 11-year run, Perlman earned 4 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Supporting Actress, cementing her legacy as one of television's most beloved comedic talents. Yet while the world celebrated her, Rhea was quietly fighting battles that few knew about. Fame brought pressure, criticism, and an unforgiving spotlight. And behind the laughter, she was navigating personal struggles that would later resurface in ways that broke her heart. By the time Cheers ended in 1993, Rhea Perlman was a household name. She had proven that talent and authenticity could beat the odds, and she had become a trailblazer for unconventional actresses everywhere. But as the cameras dimmed, new challenges awaited, challenges that no Emmy or applause could protect her from. If there's one chapter of Rhea Perlman's life that fans thought was a fairy tale, it was her decades-long marriage to Danny DeVito. The two met in 1971 after Rhea attended a performance of an off-Broadway play in which DeVito was starring. From the moment they crossed paths, sparks flew. Their chemistry was undeniable, and within weeks, Rhea had moved in with Danny. It was a whirlwind romance that defied Hollywood's reputation for short-lived relationships. By 1982, the same year, Cheers began airing, Rhea and Danny officially tied the knot. For years, they were considered one of Hollywood's most enduring couples. Two quirky, talented actors who didn't fit the mold of traditional stardom. Yet together, they carved out a place at the very heart of show business. They raised 3 children, Lucy, Grace, and Jacob, balancing family life with their demanding careers. Fans adored them not only as individuals but as a team. But behind the smiles and the public appearances, cracks began to form. Fame had brought enormous pressure, and with both of them working in the spotlight, their marriage was constantly under scrutiny. Rhea, while immensely successful in her own right, sometimes felt overshadowed by Danny's rising Hollywood career, especially after his breakout roles in films like Romancing the Stone and Batman Returns. As Danny's schedule became busier and his fame grew, Rhea reportedly struggled with the strains of balancing motherhood, her own career ambitions, and a husband whose world seemed to be pulling further away. By the early 2000s, the couple was facing very real turbulence. Rumors began to swirl about Danny's alleged infidelities, whispers that were never fully confirmed but enough to deeply wound Rhea's trust. For a woman who had stood by him for decades, the idea that her partner might not have been faithful was heartbreaking. Despite these challenges, Rhea was determined to keep the family together. Friends of the couple often described her as the glue that held everything in place, even when the relationship was at its breaking point. In 2012, the world was shocked when Rhea and Danny announced their separation after over 30 years of marriage. Fans couldn't believe it. This was supposed to be the couple that lasted forever. Though they eventually reconciled briefly in 2013, the reunion was short-lived, and by 2017, they had separated for good. Still, in true Rhea fashion, she refused to let bitterness define her story. Even after their split, she and Danny remained close friends and dedicated co-parents, often appearing together at family events. Rhea once explained that while the romantic aspect of their marriage had ended, their bond would always endure because of the deep history they shared. It was an unconventional arrangement, but it reflected her strength, resilience, and ability to adapt in the face of heartbreak. Still, those closest to her say the collapse of her marriage left a lasting scar, one that shaped the later years of her life. On the surface, Rhea Perlman remained the quick-witted actress the public loved, but privately, the pain of losing a marriage she had invested so much in was overwhelming. The struggles with Danny marked a turning point, showing her that even the most seemingly unbreakable love stories can unravel under the pressures of fame and human flaws. When Cheers ended in 1993, Rhea Perlman faced a challenge that many long-running television stars encounter: how to step out of the shadow of an iconic character. Carla Tortelli had been more than just a role. She was a cultural phenomenon. For 11 years, career momentum she had during Cheers. Many in the industry unfairly assumed that her best days were behind her. Privately, this professional struggle weighed heavily on Rhea. Acting had been her passion since her youth, yet Hollywood's unforgiving nature left her feeling sidelined. She wasn't ready to fade into obscurity, but the offers coming her way told a different story. While Danny continued to secure high-profile projects, Rhea often found herself battling feelings of being left behind, not just in her marriage, but in her career as well. Yet true to her resilient nature, she kept going. She appeared in guest roles on television shows, including Frasier, Hot in Cleveland, and The Mindy Project. Though these roles didn't carry the same weight as Cheers, they reminded audiences of her timeless comedic ability. Still, the contrast between her legendary past and her modest present was difficult to ignore. For someone who had once stood at the very top of television, the descent was humbling, and at times, heartbreaking. Adding to the difficulty, Rhea's private life was in turmoil as her marriage with Danny hit its breaking point. The stress of managing her personal heartbreak while trying to maintain her professional identity took its toll. Hollywood can be particularly unkind when personal struggles become public fodder, and for Rhea, this period was one of her most vulnerable. Despite everything, Rhea Perlman never lost her grit. She stayed close to her children, who became her anchor during uncertain times. Friends often remarked that her sense of humor remained intact, even when she was privately hurting. But the combination of fading roles, a broken marriage, and the relentless passage of time left her confronting questions about identity, legacy, and purpose. By the late 2010s, Rhea had transitioned into more selective roles, focusing on projects that mattered to her rather than chasing fame. But for fans who remembered the unstoppable Carla Tortelli, it was bittersweet to see how Hollywood's brutal system had treated one of its most gifted performers. In recent years, Rhea Perlman has quietly stepped back from the Hollywood spotlight, focusing more on her family, health, and personal well-being. But it was a series of revelations that emerged not long ago that left fans truly heartbroken. Reports surfaced that Rhea had been dealing with ongoing health concerns, struggles she chose to keep largely private for much of her life. While she has never been one to seek sympathy, those close to her admit that the toll of stress, from her turbulent marriage to her professional frustrations, has had lasting effects on her. Adding to this, Rhea has spoken candidly about the loneliness that can come with aging in Hollywood. Once surrounded by colleagues, producers, and adoring fans, she now spends much of her time away from the cameras. Though she remains close to her children and maintains a supportive friendship with Danny DeVito, the shift from household name to relative quiet has not been easy. For someone whose career was built on being seen and heard, this transition into a quieter existence carries both peace and pain. Yet what makes Rhea's story so profoundly human is her resilience. Despite the heartbreaks, the fractured marriage, the fading opportunities, and the health battles, she has continued to find meaning in the little things. Whether it's supporting her children's careers, reconnecting with close friends, or taking on smaller but meaningful roles, she hasn't let tragedy define her. Still, the news of her struggles has been difficult for fans who grew up watching her brilliance on Cheers. To see Carla Tortelli, the woman who never backed down, who always had a cutting remark and a fierce sense of self, now face such vulnerability is nothing short of heartbreaking. Social media has filled with messages of love and support, reminding Rhea that she may have stepped away from the screen, but she has not been forgotten. Her legacy is more than just her Emmy Awards or the roles she played. Rhea Perlman represents every woman who refused to be boxed in by Hollywood's narrow definitions of beauty or worth. She showed that raw talent, authenticity, and humor could outshine any superficial ideal, and even in her most difficult moments, she embodies a strength that continues to inspire. For fans, the heartbreaking news about Rhea Perlman isn't just about her personal struggles. It's the realization that time spares no one, not even the brightest stars of our youth. Yet even as she faces the twilight of her career and the challenges of age, Rhea's story remains one of defiance, resilience, and enduring love for her craft. Today, she may not dominate the screen as she once did, but her impact is undeniable. Every time a rerun of Cheers plays, audiences are reminded of the fiery waitress who made them laugh, cry, and feel seen. That is Rhea Perlman's gift to the world, and it's a legacy that will never fade.